Hello again. Right, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much to all of the subscribers that I have, and especially to you new guys who've come along and given me some fantastic positive feedback. It's really encouraging and it helps me to want to keep making videos. Having said that, I know it's been a long time since I've put out a video, and I'm really sorry about that, but I have been really quite ill and I wasn't able to get up and make a video for you. But that doesn't mean I wasn't thinking about you, and really was thinking about all your messages and some of the challenges and questions that you've been asking. So what I've done is I've tried to kind of answer some of those messages in this video now. I'm going to try and clump them together, and these are the ones that I think I can clump together for this video. And it's about how to keep your customer on the line and keep them engaged and listening to what you're saying. So to give you an idea of what kind of challenges were coming my way, one of them was, why do people say no, though they can see or hear that I'm offering a great deal? I know I have a great deal to offer, but why are they still saying no? And why are my customers not listening to me? So these are frustrations and challenges that have been coming my way, and I can totally understand why it's a challenge, and I totally understand why it is frustrating, because you spend all this time getting yourself ready, you get on the phone and away you go, but they're not listening. So why are they not listening? That's the first thing. Okay, so I don't know if you've read my book, but I've talked about how you've really got to engage with the gatekeeper or the decision maker, whoever it is that you're speaking to. And in order to engage with them, the last thing you want to do is tell. Telling is not selling. That's a phrase in my book. And whilst telling stories and telling a little bit more about your company can come in perfectly at other stages in the sales process, it's not a great time to add it on a cold call. This is not a good time to be tell. It's a great time to sell, but you've got to also remember what you're selling at this stage. And it's not your offering just yet. At this stage, you've got to offer yourself, okay? You've got to sell yourself to whoever it is that you're trying to get to the next stage with. And whether it's the gatekeeper trying to get through to the decision maker, or the decision maker trying to get through to the next part of the process. Well, whichever it is, you've still got to sell yourself, right? So you've got to think fresh. Go back to the video that I put out about how to build a great rapport with the gatekeeper. And I put in there something about fresh and how you've got to come across completely different to other salespeople. What do you get when you get a cold call? You get blah, 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 down the phone. And do you really listen to it? You've got to think to yourself, do you listen to those calls where somebody's tell all the time? I know I don't. So you've got to be really honest with yourself and ask yourself some good, challenging questions. The first question is, just because you think it's a good deal, why should they? All right? Now, to answer that question, what you've got to do is perhaps sit down and think about your product and write down all the things that makes your product great, even against the competition. And then if you come to price and you think price is the thing that makes your product great, then here, listen to this. You've still got to know how you've got to justify that low price. Just as you'd have to justify a high price to a customer, you've also got to have something behind a low price to show that your service isn't inferior to somebody else's service. I've got a great example that I use for this. Now, typically if you're going to buy a TV and you go into a retailer's to buy it, I know you can buy online as well, and it works similarly online. But wherever you look for a television, retailers and merchandisers are all really clever. And what they do is they set next to each other the similar types of TVs. But what often happens is you might go in with an idea of what you want, and when you get there you see one and you see the price. Next to it might be one that's priced slightly higher. Same kind of screen size, same kind of main features like smart, LED, all the rest of those things. But right next to it, you're kind of thinking, there's one that's priced slightly higher. Now remember, this is for people who don't have that technical knowledge of televisions, i.e. me. So, but I'd look at the next one and I'd be thinking in my head, why is that one priced higher than this one? Now, I ask you, why do I not just pick up the cheaper one and walk out with it? Because it's got all the features that I like on it, so why didn't I just go, get a good deal and walk out? You and I are probably both thinking the same thing. Well, I probably don't want to miss out on something else. It could be worth paying a little bit extra to have something else. Because if the other one satisfies my needs better than the one that's cheaper, then price doesn't matter. So really think about that when you're trying to put across that you are cheaper than your competition. It's not about cheaper, remember. It's about value. And value is subjective. Value is in the eye or the mind of the beholder. All right, and that's your customer. So they've got to be able to see the whiffum in what you're putting across. What's in it for me? Remember that? Whiffum? So I come back to this whole thing about should you be telling? No. What you should be doing is selling. And to sell, you've got to understand their situation, so that if you understand their situation, you can start to explain to them the value in what you've got. But at this stage, you've got to refrain from telling, okay? Unless you have all the information on them, you're not selling. You are simply telling. Please remember that, because it makes a huge, huge difference to your success on a cold call. Put yourself in the customer's shoes. Let's say you receive a call and they don't even ask you 2 questions. What they do is they just keep going on and on about their own service and how great it is and how cheaper it is and how much more, how bigger it is and anything like that, and how sleeker it is, or even the technology, the jargon that they put across. Think how you'd feel. I know what I'd be thinking. I'd be thinking, who are you? Why are you talking at me? And would I therefore be listening? Probably not. So you've really got to ask yourself some of these challenges and think, would I do this? So that first one was, well, what makes your offering great? Which, it doesn't mean that the customer thinks it's great. So you've got to really think about it and put down what you believe is great about your product. I did do some diagrams in previous videos where I said, look, in the middle of your circle, bullseye, is your product or service. Around that, you should have a good idea of what all the services, not even an idea, you should have a really good understanding of what all the features and the potential value, i.e. the advantages of those features are. Then you've got to match it up, but you can't match it up to the customer until you understand the customer. So when I said telling is not selling, you've got to sell. Selling is about selling yourself, as I said earlier, but selling yourself is about showing the customer that you have an interest in them, you have an interest in understanding about them, you have an interest in learning about them, and you're not interested in just yourself. All right? And then you have to wait until you've sold yourself. And when you know you sold yourself is when they ask you to start telling them. And at that point, when they start to ask you questions about your service and your product, that's when you can start to just marry up some of the things that they've told you with what you can offer through your service and product. So if it is about price, I'm going to come back to this because this did come up as a specific one. So if it is about price, I would go through all the questioning, what they use, how they use it, what the potential is, and then I would almost ask the question, so is the cost of this service important to you? What would be the one thing that would stop you from getting everything you're getting now and pay less? And then you'll get to the bottom of what they might be thinking, okay? So, but this only happens, and you can only really go down that road after you've understood them. You know, in the courses of understanding them and what they're doing, you could also ask them if they paid less for this particular service, would that help towards something else that you've talked about with them. So you've got to make it relative to them. Look at the bigger picture that they're in, not just your service and where your service fits. Think about how your service will impact other people in that company or in that organization, or for that individual that you're selling to. All right. So all of those challenges and frustrations around why don't they listen to me? Why are they saying no to a great product? The only thing I can say to you is this: stop telling, start selling, get fresh, and learn to understand them. So really, really short video, I know. I'm sorry it is, but I will have more for you. I'll do a few now. As soon as this one's out, I will start on the next one. Again, I do apologise that it's taken a little while to get to this point, though I hope this little video has helped in some way. and I'll speak to you soon. Still recovering. It will get better. Take care.